authors Emily Royal and Meara Platt. Ladies, thank you so much for taking time out of the hectic holiday season to talk to us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
A pleasure. Yes.
Great. So we have a lot of things going on in this week right before the New Year's. We've got Duke and Winter launches this week. Meara's book, Miracle of Love, which is book 15 in the Book of Love series, and Emily's got a Lion's Den book. The Lion of the Highlands book launches this week too. So it's a busy week at Dragonblade. So Emily, could you talk to us a little bit about your Lion's Den book?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a direct sequel to my first Lion's Den book, A Lion's Pride, and it's always happens when you get kind of secondary character that you just kind of bung into the story as a sort of foil for the other characters, and then when you finish the story, you think, well, what if they had their happy ending? They deserve their happy ending as well. So that's what sparked off Lion of the Highlands, and you can't reject a good Highlander, can you, as well? So I thought, so this character,
there can never. They always say there can be only one, but there can never be enough, I think.
Bring them on. Yeah, love a Highlander. This character Wilhelmina Essen, she's this widow, and she's had a really kind of abusive marriage, because obviously women back then were just there to breed heirs, and if she didn't successfully breed heirs, then she was considered to be completely useless, and she was married to a much older man, so she's like totally broken. And her daughter-in-law, who was a heroine from the previous Lion's Den book, says, right, I think you deserve a happy ending, so what we're going to do is go to the Lion's Den and actually pick you a husband and devise this questionnaire to kind of tease out who's going to be the best husband. So her daughter-in-law writes this questionnaire, and it's a bit like those those kind of Cosmopolitan magazine, Vogue magazine, what's your ideal man type questionnaire. It's a bit like that, but it's kind of in reverse. So there's always like bizarre questions that they ask the men as to what they do in certain situations and various things, and it's actually the man with the lowest score that wins, because if a man is like an absolute a complete rake, or if he's like really arrogant and boastful and with an overinflated opinion of himself, he's going to end up with a high score in the test. So and
nobody wants to live with that.
Absolutely no. We want a hot Highlander who's burly, but we want him to have a heart of gold. So our Highlander is Laird Duncan MacLeish, and he's like big burly savage Highlander, and his father basically drank away all his fortune, so he's come down to get himself a rich wife. His younger brother has got the kids, so he's like, yeah, I don't want heirs or anything, I just basically want a woman with a dowry, and I'll look after her, but I won't pester her in the bedroom, kind of thing. So he enters the Lion's Den, and he happens to be the person with the lowest score. And he takes this widow home, and then he realizes that he actually quite fancies her, but he realizes that she's got this awful traumatized past, and he kind of gradually gets her to come out of her shell, and he sort of shows her that he can look after her, and he's got a kind heart, and so the whole story is about how this widow who's had like this really horrible past comes out of her shell and realizes that actually there is somebody who loves her, and it's this big burly savage Highlander who's completely different to the prim earls and viscounts that she used to know in the Tom. So yeah, that's
I love everything about that.
Yeah. I love everything about that. As you're talking, I know I'm thinking as soon as this interview is over, I am clicking on it.
I love everything about that. It's like not only is he tender enough to tease her out of her shell, he's big and burly enough for her to feel safe with afterwards. No, I love every single thing about that. That sounds like.
And there's a bit of kind of magic in there as well, because there's like this there's old Hamish, who's the stag who wanders around the lands, and nobody gets to see old Hamish, and old Hamish won't let anyone near him apart from the purest, tenderest soul. So there's a little bit of kind of magic with this legendary stag that wanders around as well. And there's a couple of cute children too. So.
It's like a unicorn for a widow. That's fantastic. You only ever get those when you're maidens, and that goes so fast that you don't know that you should be paying attention until it's too late. Oh, that sounds. I love everything about that. That sounds like so much fun.
I had great fun writing it. Really, yeah.
So, what's it like? Because it's set a little. connected to your other Lion's Den books. What's it like writing in the Lion's Den world and having to work within the construct of this already existing?
Oh, I love it because it's not really restrictive. There is a kind of generic period, which is the Regency period, but you've got this amazing world where all these wonderful things happen. So it's obviously making sure it's consistent, but you have got the freedom to write your own story in your own voice. But what I absolutely love about it is these bizarre games and unusual bets and things that you can, like parlor games, funny parlor games, or drinking games, or quizzes, or things that you can just make up for a bit of fun at the beginning. So I love writing that with kind of weird ways that you get couples together. So it's absolutely great fun. And I've signed up to write another one next year as well. So yeah, can't get enough of the Lion's Den. It's a fantastic series.
Good. Well, Meara, you have book 15. Book 15 of the Book of Love series came out this week, and it's The Miracle of Love, and these are the prettiest covers in the whole entire world. And this is the series that has just never-ending stories. And I love the setup for this. I love the idea of this book that kind of coaxes people to be where they're supposed to be. So
yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Okay, yeah. Well, The Miracle of Love, it's the story of, Rafe Quinton's brother, Declan, who I've been just going on about for months. It's like in his head, everybody has a muse, and you think about, there's handsome movie stars or models, and my muse was this leopard that kept coming into my head. And this was Declan. This was the hero. He was just this aloof, powerful, sleek, piercing eyes, these gorgeous leopard eyes that just looked at you and you just want to melt. And it's just been on my brain since this book would come out. And, usually when I turn a book in, it's like Dragonblade rushes and they're going to get it out right away. And, but it took a little long. You guys are we're just exploding at Dragonblade. It's just going gangbusters and so well. So I had to wait those few extra months, and it was like, get this leopard out of my but I loved him. He's aloof. His brother Rafe was much more, he's in one place. He's a magistrate of Exeter, and I was in the Dance of Love, and he's got a son, and he's a widower, and he's got his mother living with him. He's just and Declan is the exact opposite, complete loner. He's an agent of the crown, and you send him out on, any dangerous mission, the most dangerous missions, he's the guy who's going to get it done. So he's overseas. Now the heroine, you met the heroine and her family in the Dance of Love, which was Rafe Quinton's story. And her father and brother, Grace Montfort, her father and brother, got involved in these art thefts. What started as like, harmless of, noblemen who's got, they have their estates all tied up and they're entailed and they need to sneak money here and there. And so what started as we'll commission a fake painting that's an exact duplicate of the valuable one we have, and give it to Grace's father, and he'll sell it, and nobody will be any the wiser because an exact duplicate will be hanging in their in their parlor or whatever. And but over the years it graduated to just actual art thefts. And so finally, you have her Grace's brother has actually stolen a foreign royal crown. And everyone is up in arms. And secretly, it's like, the royal house will not admit to it, but, they know it's been stolen. And they now know that it's thanks to Declan's brother, Rafe, they now know who stole it. So now everybody the foreign royal house is up in arms, and the English monarchy is furious, and they need to get this crown back. And the only one who's going to cooperate with them is Grace. So they've sent Declan to to take Grace. Actually, they have 1 week to find this crown. Try to get the brother or the father, somebody to admit where it is so they can quietly send it back, right? Or else they're going to turn Grace over as hostage because they all think that the father or the brother will care if their beloved sibling is taken into foreign custody. Well, Declan is not going to let that happen, whether they find the crown or not, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He plays by his own rules. He's just very he's very efficient. Well, he's like the leopard. He strikes in the night. You don't see him coming, and then he climbs back up in his leopard tree and hides up there and, keeps his distance from everyone. Well, he's gotten so kind of distant and so in himself to the point where he's even starting to separate from his own family, that he loves them, and it's Grace who brings him back into the fold. He finally realizes just kind of how far he got into himself. And so, of course, their first meeting, she's staying with his family. He doesn't know it. He's just come back from overseas and he's got his assignment. He's going to go looking for her. And not only is she staying with the family, she's staying in the bedroom. Of course, nobody knows he's coming back because they thought he's just not there.
It's only one bed.
And of course, there's only one bed. There's always got to be only one bed. What fun is it if there's two beds? So, of course, he comes in dark of night, takes off all his clothes, hops right into bed, and the next thing she's shrieking, hitting him over the head with this book. And of course, that magical book there that kind of pounded into his brain. So, and of course, he's going to fall in love with Grace. But I gave him all kinds of. He's just a loner. He's a wise ass, and he's got this naughty tattoo that.
So much fun.
That is he's just But when he, as he realizes he's falling in love with Grace, and he's never going to let any harm come to her, and it's hopefully wonderful the way they work together to try to find this crown, because they get no help from the father or or her brother, and which is what happens. But after they do find the crown, and Declan realizes that he's got to open up and let Grace into his heart. Yeah. Basically,
it sounds like so much fun. That sounds like so much fun.
That's a story. I know. These are fun. I love the Book of Love stories, and I love Emily's stories too. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful stories. So, and actually, I know that the Duke in Winter, I told it to you before we came on, but I really wanted to say, I just opened up the book. I started reading it last night, got through one story, and it was fabulous.
Thank you so much. I just downloaded The Miracle of Love on my phone. It just sounds so. You had me at takes off all his clothes, leaps into bed, and she.
I know that's
that's right up my alley.
Like nothing better than a believable only one bed trope.
Absolutely,
totally in. So, Meara, you were talking about the Duke and Winter anthology that launches this week too, and Emily has a book in that's a whole anthology of a bunch of stories for like less than $1. You should go right now. You should not wait. You should stay. Keep listening to us, but also clicking on that if you haven't already, because it's because why wouldn't you? But Emily, can you tell us a little bit about your story that's in that collection?
Yeah, so the whole book is stories that are inspired on Shakespeare's plays. So mine is the Taming of the Shrew, but it's called the Taming of the Duke. Now I always kind of found the Taming of the Shrew. It's a bit fun, but it is a little bit misogynistic, isn't it? About this bad-tempered woman, and all these men tame her and get her to do silly things, and then she ends up being this subservient wife. So I've kind of turned it on its head a little bit. So we've still got this woman who's the older sister who's really shrewish. And there's a kind of bet that someone has to try and woo her because his friend wants to woo her much pleasanter, gentler younger sister who he's fallen in love with. So this duke comes in who's a complete rake and says, yeah, for a couple of hundred guineas I'll pretend to court this shrewish woman so that you can then court the woman that you love. But it turns out that this woman is quite shrewish. She has a reason for being shrewish, because she had her heart broken before. But she's also not really shrewish. She's just very sharp-tongued and very witty, and she's got great put-downs to her. An arrogant man comes up and tries to woo her, and she just puts him down with a lash of her tongue. So it's just really someone who's a bit witty.
As he should be.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So she's a modern woman, and because of that, she's seemed to be a bit shrewish. So this duke decides to court her, but he kind of treats her a little bit like Prosciutto treats Katerina in the Taming of the Shrew. So he says like, oh, this punch isn't good enough for you, so I'll give you my own concoction of punch, and he slips a bit of vinegar in it so it tastes disgusting. But she's like, yeah, I'm up for this. So she just like knocks it back and goes, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And he sort of thinks, oh, okay, this woman is a little bit different. And they both basically get blindsided by love.
The blindsiding. Those are good.
They kind of just sort of realise that they're actually really attracted to each other. But obviously there's a big thing that he was seducing her just for a bet. And will she find out that he's just seducing her for a bet? And what will she do? And if she does
when she finds out, is the seduction still
it's when she finds out, and it's what is he going to do to redeem himself in her eyes. So it's a novella, so it's quite a quick story. So I couldn't really have a full on happy ever after, but it's a kind of happy for now, and then we know that they're going to have a happy ever after afterwards. But I loved writing it, and I was able to bring in some of the characters of one of my series, which I think that book's coming out middle of January. But once they've had their happy ever after, then they had this house party where the Duke and the Shrew happened to be there. So I was able to kind of revisit a couple and a family that I've grown very fond of as well. So absolutely loved writing it. It's such great fun.
Oh, fun. Oh, it sounds like fun. And that's is part of the Duke and Winter collection that's out. It's out it's out today. We're recording a day early, so by the time this airs, you'll be able to get your copy if you don't have it already. And Meara, you have the books from Get Your Duke On this summer. Those are being released individually, and your novella for that one is part of the Moonstone Landing world, which is your next with your upcoming series. Is that right?
Yes. So the first thing I want to say to the readers who are emailing me, and I've been doing it for like the last 6 books, saying, are you gonna please say you're never gonna end that Book of Love series? I'm not. As long as they keep doing what as well as they're doing.
He's gonna run out of words to use for blank of love. But
I know the blank of love. I know. That's actually one of the games that I've started to play with. Like every time I walk by, it's like, oh, this Target store, the Target of love. But I know that with Catherine, we're good. Those books will keep coming, but also the new series is on its way. So I've turned in the 3 big books in the Moonstone Landing series, and I happen to think they're wonderful. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope that the readers think so too. And so we had Moonstone Landing was the first novella that introduced the series, and now Moonstone Angel is it's not quite all the same characters, but it does take place. It's one of the Kara Angel. It's why she's the Moonstone Angel. There's a lot of angels in Moonstone. There was people with the last name of Angel. So she's got the head of the bank is an angel. The tavern keeper is an angel, and the constable is an angel. They're all family members, but she's taken she was acting as companion to a duke's grandmother in London, and the elderly dowager, she's kind of ill and not doing well in London, and asked Kara will you take me to this wonderful place, Moonstone Landing, where she had all these wonderful stories. So they take off. It's a seaside. It's Cornwall. It's the summertime. And it's gonna be fun. These hot dukes. They gotta take their shirts off. What can I say? They gotta go dipping in that water.
Oh my!
But her grandson is now the Duke of Strathmore, and he comes to London to find not only his grandmother missing, but his wicked stepsisters are telling him that Cara stole a necklace too, an heirloom family, So he's thinking, okay, well, who steals a grandmother and a necklace? It's not usually how it's done, but he's just angry, and he goes to Moonstone Landing to find her. And she's another one. She's like one of with Emily's heroines, sassy, not letting him get away with anything.
There's no fools.
And, she's just like telling him she's looking for his grandmother, determined to take her back to London. But he quickly sees this is just this town. You can just, after the war that he was fighting off at Waterloo and prior in the Napoleonic Wars, and he's back, and he just sees how this is what he was meant to fight for. The beauty that's around, and to protect this way of life, and the so he really just he finally realizes that his grandmother is happy here, and he will take her back to London eventually, but only when she's ready. But in the meantime, he decides, I'm staying here too. And not only just staying in town, he's going to stay in their cottage where, and Cara is like, you can't stay here. You can't, I'm not going to have a Duke in my house. And no, you've got my grandmother. As long as she's here, I'm here. So, and it's just the way that they warm up to each other. It's just a fun novella. It's basically it. And
so much fun.
Meant to be lighthearted. Mm-hmm. And it's most of my writing, even if I put them through travails and turmoil and give them some of these poor guys I've given such horrible backstories, we're still gonna have fun. That's it. It's meant to put a smile on your face. So
oh well, I'm looking forward to the new series. That sounds like lots of fun.
It does.
Yeah. And more Meara is always a good thing. So
thank you. No, but I do have to say, just really quick, like the upcoming books, the big books in this series, it's the three nieces of the aunt who owned in Moonstone. You met her in Moonstone Landing. She fell in love with the ghost. That wonderful, wonderful story. Her three nieces now come to inherit the cottage, and they meet the loves of their lives, and these men are truly wonderful, and the stories are great. And I should not play favorites, but I have to say, I mean, they're all great, but when I wrote the Moonstone Marquis, that guy is like fire. Just shut up. He was so hot, so sexy. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that there's anything better than an author that's in love with their hero.
Yeah.
Because you can tell.
Anyway, okay, I'll be quiet now.
No. That all sounds wonderful. I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of lots of things to look forward to in the new year. Emily, you also had an audiobook come out, because we're going to do all the launches that Trevor.
It's been a mad week. I had like an audiobook on the Tuesday. I had my lines done on the Wednesday, and then the Drinking Winter today. It's been a bit mad. But the audiobook is of The Prize Fighter's Heart, which is book 4 in my Hits from Heart series.
Yeah.
And what Meara was saying about some of the heroes that make you go a bit gooey. This hero, Griffin Oak, he's a prize fighter. He's a bit of rough. He's like big, burly, muscular man, and he ends up being in a compromised position with a heroine who's a spinster who's deemed past her age. She's like a favorite aunt. She looks after other people's children, and she's kind of given up hopes of a family of her own, but she secretly lusts after this prize fighter, Griffin Oak, who's called the Mighty Oak. And she watches his prize fights. She kind of hides in the shadows and watches him and goes, oh, isn't he wonderful? And then she ends up being compromised by him at a party and married to him. And he's got a difficult past because he's got a daughter who actually isn't his daughter. It's his wife's lover's child, his treacherous wife, who died in mysterious circumstances in a thunderstorm. So it's a bit kind of like Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie as well. So the heroine comes into this family and thinks, oh, the first wife died. I've got a resentful stepdaughter to look after and a husband who doesn't want to come near me. And she feels a bit lonely. But gradually she shows him kind of how to run a home and how to love his stepdaughter, and she brings the whole family together. And then he realizes that, oh, I do actually love her and I quite fancy her as well. And there's a kind of couple of very fiery, explosive scenes when they finally get together. And I absolutely adore him as a hero because I like a bit rough. But the narrator of the audiobook, a lady called Polly Lee, she's so good. The narration, she does all the voices, and she does with all the kind of intonation of her voice, with the emotion in it. She kind of has me crying at some of the scenes, and some of the steamy scenes when she's reading them, I don't know where to put myself. It's like, so I'm kind of getting all hot and bothered about my hero all over again because I downloaded it to listen to it just to see what it sounded like. And some of the scenes where Griffin is beginning to get a bit hot under the collar at the sight of his delectable wife's form, I'm like, fanning myself a bit. So that's been such fun having the audiobook. So that came out earlier this week.
I love listening to audiobooks. Do you all listen to them regularly?
I don't, but I've only recently started. Now I've worked out how to download them onto my phone.
Yeah, I listen when I drive, and the narrator makes such a big difference, because if it's somebody who can take you along on the story, was like a good storyteller, it's like having somebody tell you a story. So
yeah, it's a real skill to be able to narrate it. I have listened to the odd thing where the voice is a bit flat and you don't really get into it, but this lady is so talented. I'm like really into the story.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that sounds like that. So like our TBR pile has grown extensively over the time, and now we have audiobooks to add to the things that we need to do. So there's so many things to look forward to. Well, I was thinking we would have all this time left at the end, and we don't have all this time left at the end. But I wondered, because this is going to air on, it'll air the eve before New Year's Eve. Do you have New Year's things that you do? Do you have planning things for work or resolutions you set, or wrap up kind of things that you do as the year comes to a close and a New Year's starts?
We just New Year's Eve we just kind of chill. We used to have parties when the kids were younger, but now the kids are grown up, they go off and do their own things and go out in the middle of Edinburgh drinking with their friends or something. So the two of us just tend to sit down with a frozen banquet from Tesco or something, like a frozen Chinese banquet, and eat that. My resolution, I think, is just going to be have a better sleep schedule and be a lot more organised in terms of my book releases, because I had COVID earlier this year, which kind of knocked my writing schedule sideways. So I need to just get back into it again and be a bit more focused. So that's my resolution, I think. More sleep and more structured writing.
Sleep is so important. It's like it's so important for every other thing that I
forget.
Yeah.
What about you, Meara?
Yeah, we used to do the same thing. For decades we would have a big party every New Year's, and but now, and especially after COVID, we're staying home. I'll pile up the chocolate, the Coca-Cola, get all my favorite things, and I don't usually make resolutions because I usually break them within an hour of making them. But but it's true. When you write, being a writer, when you're into it, you could go till all hours. You don't want to stop once you're into it. And so that really, the sleep, getting a more regular schedule is very important. I'll try, if I can do it, I'll do it.
Well, and those kind of things are lovely self-care things that you can do that don't require much more than paying attention to it, making your bedroom the way you want it, scents and glass of water beside the bed and things, little things that you can do that make it feel like you're treating yourself the way we should treat ourselves. So
yeah, absolutely. I've actually downloaded, those little meditation apps that you can get, that it has, you kind of have access to sounds like crickets at night or waves or crackling fires or something. And they had an offer earlier on in the year where instead of subscribing, it was just a one-off payment. So I do try every night to either listen to the sound of crickets or do like a kind of hypnotherapy, deep sleep type thing. So I'm beginning to get there on the sleep schedule, but there's a long way to go.
Ongoing process.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us this week. I really appreciate it. As always, I will pop the links to the books in the comments so that you can find them. You want to grab your Dragonblade books on pre-order or release, because that's when they're the very best deal. Although they're always available in Kindle Unlimited, so it's always a good deal. So, and hopefully we've given you lots of fun stories to lead into the new year with. So, thanks so much for joining us. I think maybe we lost Meara, so we're going to wave to Meara.
Oh, she's
Hold on, let's give.
Yep, she's gone.
There she is, just in time to say goodbye. Oh, no, she's not back.
No.
There she is. Before anything else goes wrong and I don't know how to fix it.
We love the internet.
I'm going to say thank you for joining us. Happy New Year from the Dragonblade family to your family, and we will talk to you all next year. Thanks so much.